Welcome into Pigskin Perspectives. It is time to recap another weekend of football action. It was week 10 of the college football season, week 9 of the NFL season. We are ever inching closer to the end here, especially college football. There's only 3 weekends of regular season football left, which is just mind boggling to say. That's just sad to hear. That's just disappointing. NFL, we just crossed that halfway point, and things are starting to heat up there. A lot to cover tonight. Obviously, no Jersey tonight. College basketball season right around us. There is a red storm rising in New York, and that is that of the St. John's Red Storm, Rick Pitino first season there. This isn't a basketball show though, so we will get straight into the college football action. So we had some good games in the six-pack this week. Kansas State traveled to Austin. I said this is either going to be a really close game or it's going to be a blowout and Texas is going to win by 50. Well, this ended up being a close game. Texas narrowly escapes in overtime, 33-30. Kansas State put up a fight, and they played a really good game. They probably were deserving of the win, but didn't get it. Texas still walks away victorious. They most likely have that track to the Big 12 title, seeming like they are going to be that team that could be the representative for the Big 12 in the college football playoff, given the result of this next game where Oklahoma traveled to Stillwater, face off against Oklahoma State in the last bedlam on the schedule. It was Oklahoma State walking away with a 27-24 victory. This game didn't surprise me at all. I told you Oklahoma State was probably going to win this game on Thursday. Just given everything that was going into it, given that it was the last bedlam, it was in Stillwater. Oklahoma State, the kind of feeling that they're being left behind by Oklahoma, with Oklahoma going to the SEC, it was just all adding up. And Oklahoma State just walks away with the victory in this one. Again, not surprised by this result. Oklahoma State has been playing a lot better as of late. They now have the inside track to possibly face Texas in that Big 12 title game. And that would be a very interesting game to see. We go on to the West Coast. This game, I told you, was going to have a lot of points put up because defense is not a thing here. It was Washington walking into the Coliseum and walking away with a stunning 52-42 victory against USC. USC's any hopes of a Pac-12 title game were gone. Any hope of a New Year's Six bowl game gone. They're unranked now. We'll get to the rankings in a minute, as always. Alex Grinch, the defensive coordinator, fired. No real surprise there when you're giving up an average of like 35 points in the past 4 games. And it probably could be extended. No real surprise. Washington still keeps their undefeated season rolling. They're going to have a tough test this week. We'll get to that on Thursday. One of the best rivalries in college football, LSU traveled to Tuscaloosa to face off against Alabama, and it was Alabama putting on a second-half clinic as they defeated LSU 42-28. I believe Alabama scored 28 unanswered in this game to close it out. No real surprise there. Jalen Milroe, he's progressing. He still has those throws where you're like, Jalen, what are you throwing at? What are you doing? But he had 4 rushing touchdowns in this game. He played LSU's defense like a fiddle. And it was kind of the performance that you need to see out of him to have some belief in him. Alabama, they're starting to peak at the right time, I'd say. We're getting into November now. they still have that inside track of ending up in Atlanta to most likely face off against Georgia in the SEC title. And that game most likely decides who's going to the playoff for the SEC. So that was a very interesting battle on Saturday night. Another one was even just, I kind of said it, Colorado's just, it's falling apart right now. Yeah, you saw that in this game. Colorado loses to Oregon State 26-19. It was much closer than it should have been. Like I said, Colorado's kind of falling apart at the seams right now. Deion's kind of throwing players under the bus. He made a switch at the offensive coordinator, which was not their problem. Their problem was the defense, but whatever. Sean Lewis is probably going to a different job next year, and whatever. Colorado, that team that we saw week 1 is not there now. They just aren't. That was more of a mirage than anything. So Oregon State walks away with the victory. That helps after they lost a few weeks ago. They're starting to climb up those rankings again. And finally, another game. I was sure about this one, and I told you that on Thursday, and it came to fruition. Arizona just kind of dominates start to finish against UCLA. They win 27-10. No true surprise there. I didn't really think that there would be in Tucson and just everything that goes along with that. It was just, I didn't think there was a way Arizona was going to lose. And Arizona, they're looking really good right now. Each week I say that. Each week they're continuing to get better, which is surprising. I didn't expect this team to be this good, this fast under Jed Fish. But here we are. We're in week 10. I believe they're 1 win away from bowl eligibility. They may have got there, but they're sitting at 5 or 6 wins. And given where this Arizona program has been, that's huge. So given that, it is time to look at what the committee just gave us a few hours ago. Let's take a look at these college football playoffs. The top 8 have remained the same. Ohio State still at 1. They struggled in the first half with Rutgers, pulled away in the second half. Georgia stays at 2. They kind of struggled with Missouri there for a second. But they kind of pulled away at the end. They gained momentum, and nobody was stopping them after that. Michigan stays at 3. They had a domination of Purdue. Florida State stays at 4. They kind of struggled with Pitt on Saturday, which doesn't look outstanding on that resume, but I mean, they did end up winning the game by a decent amount. Number 5 is Washington. They obviously got that huge win against USC, which obviously doesn't look like a huge win, but I still think it is. Oregon is still at 6. They got a dominating performance against Cal. They controlled that game from start to finish, no matter what the score in the first quarter said when it was like 15-14 or something similar to that. And Texas stays at 7 after that overtime win. I'm surprised Alabama didn't move up. I know Texas and Alabama have that head-to-head. I would have expected with the win against LSU, they may have potentially jumped to 7, but the committee is just showing with, they did it with Washington and Oregon too. Oregon's looked like the better team all year, but Washington has that head-to-head win. The committee is very much paying attention to those head-to-head victories, and it seems to be playing a big factor in what the committee is deciding, basically. Because Alabama has looked the better team than Texas the past few weeks. which I don't really think is saying much, to be honest. Texas hasn't looked outstanding, but hey, they're still Texas. They got the win against Alabama, which I think is keeping them where the committee wants them right now. At 9 is Ole Miss. They got a victory against Texas A&M that kind of almost escaped them, as Texas A&M only lost on a missed field goal in the last second. But, I mean, they still look good, Ole Miss does. It's just that Alabama loss, not great for them. 10, you have Penn State. It was one of their big weekend is coming up this weekend when they face Michigan. I think that's when we really find out how this Penn State team is going to look. Obviously, they dominated Maryland this weekend, but what's that going to look like, come next week when you're facing a top 4 team in the nation? At 11 is Louisville. I really don't know about them because I really don't think they're that good. If they were in a different conference, I don't think that they are sitting here at 11, but they are because the ACC is just that bad. The ACC is not good. They have Florida State. They have Louisville. And that's really it. You'll see North Carolina down there. North Carolina's not that good either. At 12, you have Oregon State, which they're climbing up the rankings, and it is what it is. They could sneak into a New Year's Six bowl. I don't see it happening, though. I just don't think that they can get high enough, given that they still have that game against Oregon coming up. I believe they also have a game against Washington coming up. And that easily could potentially turn a very good season for Oregon State into an 8-4 season. 13 is Tennessee. 14 is Missouri. They drop after the loss to Georgia. Oklahoma State jumps to 15 after that huge win against Oklahoma. Kansas fits in at 16. And at 17, dropping down from 9, is Oklahoma. Here you go once again. That head-to-head battle showing up again. Kansas got that win against Oklahoma last week. And here we are. And Oklahoma is now below Kansas because of that. Utah is at 18. I still think that's a huge win for Oregon on their resume, given it was on the road in incomplete dominating fashion. 19 is LSU. That loss to Alabama didn't help. 20 is Notre Dame. 21, and appearing in the college football playoff for the first time this season. Obviously, there's only been 2, but it is the University of Arizona. I keep saying, they keep showing up each week. They keep rising up the rankings. And they're looking like a better team each week. 22 is Iowa. They had a 10-7 victory against Northwestern at Wrigley Field in a just disgusting battle of football for 60 minutes. 23 is Tulane. They are the highest ranked and only ranked group of 5 team. So that puts them in the driver's seat for a New Year's Six Bowl. 24 is North Carolina, which I said they're not that great. And 25 is Kansas State, which I don't think that they should be ranked after the loss to Texas, even though it was close. But the biggest shame out of here is there is another group of 5 team that's better than Tulane right now and deserves to be ranked, but won't be ranked because of dumb NCAA rules, and that's James Madison. Given their transition status to the FBS level, they are ineligible for bowl games for 2 years, so this is their second year of that. They're also ineligible for the Sun Belt title, which is dumb. They can still be ranked in the AP and coaches poll. They can't be ranked in the college football playoff one, which is also dumb. But They put in a petition today to hopefully get that changed. I doubt the NCAA will change it because the NCAA loves punishing student athletes. And yeah, hopefully we see James Madison in these polls later on in the season, but I highly doubt it. So moving on, we move on to the NFL. Thursday night football, a ugly game because it seems like every game with the Steelers is an ugly game. They win with that voodoo magic of Acrisure Stadium. They get a 20-16 victory, I should say. Like I said, this game was kind of ugly start to finish. I didn't really expect much less, but the Steelers still walk away with the victory. And, the Steelers, they're still in the hunt for the AFC North because they keep winning these games stupidly, just by stupid reasons. They end up winning, and, they're still in the hunt here. In Frankfurt, Germany, the Kansas City Chiefs got out to a commanding 14-0 lead, then kind of let the foot off the gas. Dolphins kind of crept back in the game, but it was the Chiefs walking away with a 21-14 victory. Nothing truly surprising in that game. I think, if anything, this confirms the Dolphins are frauds. It's been over 365 days since the Dolphins have beat a team that's above 500, which is saying something. But yeah, they're still in first place in the AFC East, which is saying something, I guess, about the division. We'll get to the other team in that division in a few moments' time. The Cleveland Browns with a shutout 27-0 victory over the Arizona Cardinals. What a dominating performance from the defense. Again, what a dominating performance. Start to finish, they made sure the Browns were going to win that game. The offense, they had their moments. They also didn't have their moments. I don't think Deshaun Watson's still 100%, but playing against the Cardinals, you're going to look 100% even if you're not. It's a rough task next week. I think we'll really figure out what this team is made of next week as they play the Ravens. The Vikings, off a miraculous Josh Dobbs second half performance coming in 5 days after getting traded, not knowing the playbook, they get a 31-28 victory over the Atlanta Falcons. I don't think more can be said about what Josh Dobbs put up in this game. He's a really good quarterback. He's that Case Keenum level quarterback where he could jump around the league for the rest of his career making outlandish money as a backup. And if he needs to be put in, teams can feel confident that they're going to do halfway decent with him. And this game just proved it. He looked like a really good quarterback in this one. The Packers get a 20-3 victory against Brett Hundley's LA Rams. The Packers still didn't look good at all. Jordan Love still didn't look good in this game. I don't know what the rest of the season holds for the Packers because I don't think it's going to get any easier. The Commanders get a 20-17 victory over the Patriots. The Patriots just, they're in free fall. They really are. I know they got the win a few weeks ago. They're still in free fall. They don't look good. They don't have the talent. And that was proven in this game. They should have won this game probably by 2 scores maybe. But they just end up losing this one. The Bears traveled down to the Superdome, but it was the Saints walking away with the victory, 24-17. Tyson Bagent seems like that may have been his final start as Bears QB, as it looks like Justin Fields should be back next week. We'll see about that. I said this game was going to be very intriguing. The Seahawks and the Ravens. It wasn't. The Ravens blew out the Seahawks 37-3. I mean, it was just a ugly performance from the Seahawks, and that really didn't help their case here. in probably what was the most entertaining game of this week 9, it was the Buccaneers traveling to Houston to face off against the Texans in a game that featured back and forth scoring, a backup running back kicking, and just miraculous catches and touchdown passes. It was the Houston Texans walking away with a 39-37 victory, which I think says a lot because C.J. Stroud looks like a really good quarterback. In his rookie year, he looks really, really good, and the Texans got a really good player at number 2. They had the number 2 pick, so they got a really good player at number 2. The Colts get a 27-13 victory against the 1-win Panthers. The Colts just were the better team in this game, and they played up to that. The Raiders, under interim head coach, Antonio Pierce, get a 30-6 victory over the New York Giants. Obviously, the bigger news coming out of this game is Daniel Jones tore his ACL. Out the rest of the year. What do the Giants do next with the quarterback position? That is a real question now. It sounds like Tommy DeVito is going to be the starter for now. He's obviously not their quarterback of the future, but we'll see what happens there. The Eagles and the Cowboys faced off in another entertaining game, and as much as the Eagles tried to give it away in the end, they walked away with a 28-23 victory. It was, like I said, the Eagles tried to give this one away. The Cowboys kept sneaking back in this game, which I got to hand it to them. I'm happy with that, even though I still think the Cowboys are not a contender. They still put up fights, and I got to give them that. It's a lot more than I would have expected, especially in this type of game. I figured they would kind of just fold up and, just be there while the Eagles just ran over them. That did not happen. The Bills traveled to Cincinnati. They had a 18-24 loss to the Bengals, and it is truly time to have a discussion about the Buffalo Bills. They still sit second in the division. The Dolphins are still ahead of them. This Bills team kind of falling apart right now. Last year's Bills probably win this game. This year's Bills, nope. They obviously don't. The Bengals are starting to look into form. The division of the AFC North starting to look like a real terror, which is kind of scary as a Browns fan, but hey, we are also in that. We are in the scary running. But the Bills, I think their Super Bowl window closed, honestly. I think it's gone. I don't see this team competing. They keep losing these games, and just, it's not good. And then finally on Monday Night Football, the Chargers dominated start to finish against what looked like to be a bad New York Jets team. They lose 27-6. Aaron Rodgers keeps saying, hey, he's a few weeks away from potentially playing. I'll believe it when I see it. I'm still not expecting him back because that would be absolutely insane for a quarterback who tore his Achilles the first play of week 1 to come back and play at the end of the year. That'd just be absolutely insane. I don't see it happening. So given that is going to be it for this recap of this weekend's football action on Pigskin Perspectives. Hopefully you enjoyed watching this video. If you stumbled across it, hit like, subscribe, tell anybody you know about it. We'll be back in 2 days' time. Preview. We'll do this all over again. We're previewing a football weekend. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of action because there's going to be a lot of entertaining games going on. So hopefully you tune in then for another episode of Pigskin Perspectives.